What's up, everyone? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22, and this is Bet the NFL week number 9 of the NFL season. And as always, I'm here with me is my co-host Derek Wesley, also known as DWeezy. What's going on, man?
Man, just another week. We got a few more upsets. We were actually able to call the upset. I think that a lot of folks might have viewed as one of the bigger ones on the weekend.
You did,
As
you did, you definitely
okay,
got
I
that one.
I couldn't remember if you were riding with me on that one, but yes, I did. I felt strong about the way the Bengals have turned things around.
Oh yeah, that one you're talking about. Okay,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I was on that one too. I was on that one too.
but
Yeah, we both on that one. So
yeah. So looking maybe to find a possible upset this week as well, but. You know, nothing stops in the NFL. It might be a 365 business, but when the season is going, that next week, it sneaks up on you fast. We got Thursday night football just tomorrow night.
yeah, I mean, I had a great week this past week. Finally back in uh, with a winning week. It's been a little bit, but that we're just going to continue this. We're going to continue winning. Um, but before we do that, we got to recap what happened in week 8. And what happened was pretty even. Not much in terms of the trends. Favorites 7-7-2, 58, 56, and 8 overall. 50%, 50.9%. I mean, there's really no edge either way to betting the favorites or um, betting the underdogs. It's pretty even. Either way you're going with those. Home teams as well, 8-6-2 against the spread last week, 58, 56, and 8. Same exact percentage, 50.9%. There's really no way to bet, and there's no trend going either way, whether it's you're betting the home team or you're betting the away team. It's pretty even as of right now. But the biggest story is that the overs finally, you saw some points scored this week. Overs 8, unders 8, still even. But we saw in the beginning of the season, just unders were just completely dominating. As the overall says, 49 overs, 72 unders. Under's been hitting at a 59.5% rate. But this week it was completely even. I guess maybe now that the odds makers have finally adjusted to the scores, or was it that the teams just start to score more? What do you think happened?
Um, I do think a little bit of the books adjusting because that's naturally going to happen over the course of a season. But also, I think you get some of these teams that start separating themselves and start identifying teams as you hear it all the time around the trade deadline, buyers and sellers. And if you're a buyer, you're looking to add more talent, basically because you're having a productive season. You're may not necessarily mean wins, but when you start talking about putting up more points, you're talking about more production. So in that sense, I definitely think around the trade deadline, players that potentially know they might be available for trade or have trade value might not to say play harder, but a little something in the back of their minds as they're preparing for each week. So do I don't I won't necessarily say we can see this continue with the overs, but I mean at some point the books had to adjust enough where the overs are going to have to come in because as long as those unders keep coming in the fashion that they were, you're going to see totals continue to come down. So at some point, the book's going to have to put the number so low that the over actually comes in, regardless of who the matchup is.
All right, we'll say what's up to my dad. What's going on? Um, all right, now we will get to the. This is what I thought you were going to say, which is the biggest upset of the week, which came in the Chiefs minus 7 at the Broncos. Broncos get the big upset that I don't think a lot of people saw over the Kansas City Chiefs. I guess if Taylor Swift doesn't show up to a Chiefs game, um, the Chiefs looks like crap because that's exactly what happened in this one. I just don't get how they played so poorly against a team that allowed 70 points and they only scored 9. That's pretty bad for the Chiefs offense that's been so great over the since Patrick Mahomes got there. And to put out this performance is extremely surprising. I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming, but this is why we always say on this show that you can't bet these the underdogs in a divisional game with a big spread, because especially at home, it just always goes their way. It doesn't matter how many times the Chiefs have beaten the Broncos. If the spread is this big and the Broncos are at home, this is what's going to happen. It's going to lead towards the underdog, and that's here. But it's just the Chiefs offense just couldn't get going at all. Really, I mean, it's a lot of mistakes by the receivers, and and that's how they end up losing to a Broncos team that's not very good.
Yes, I definitely think this was the most adamant example of what this offense lost when they lost Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator. Um, because these are the types of games where when you have a coach that knows how to scheme players open and use that scheme, as you mentioned, the offense just couldn't get it going, couldn't really figure things out. And in the NFL with players of that caliber, we're talking about guys that as you meant, as you said, you get them on that little bit of a roll, you get a couple good plays going in a row, it snowballs effect, and it continues on. And when you're able to continuously interrupt, that rhythm, that's how defenses are really able to capitalize. Because even more and more in modern day football, we see defenses don't necessarily have to be shut down every play if they can capitalize in those key plays. If you have a third down and medium, a third down, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, and you're able to go out there and stop that play, it doesn't really matter if you've seen that team put up a few plays on that drive, So I think you know, in a lot of ways, some of the issues and struggles we've seen out of the Kansas City offense this year is due to what they lost when Eric Bieniemy left.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they've been having problems. Um, we'll see if those problems continue going on to into this week. But we'll say what's up to Brandon. What's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you stopping by. Um, Now we will go to the bad beat of the week, and that came in the Thursday night game. Bucks +10 at the Buffalo Bills. The Bucks lose 18 to 24, but they do cover. And this is a classic example of the backdoor cover. Um, the Bills had a lead, a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. They could have been up 21, but they were stopped and they turned the ball over on downs when they right at the Buccaneers 1 yard line, and they couldn't punch it in. But they still were up 2 scores, covering the spread, and then they just let the Bucks on their second to last drive. The Bucks just this lasted forever. Like it just kept going and going and going. They got converted every fourth down because the Bills just committed the dumbest penalties. I don't know. It seemed like the fix was in just to get that cover because I don't know how the hell the Bills were so stupid just keep letting that drive continue like that. It amazes me. I don't know what they were doing. I guess those Bills players had the Bucks to cover because I just can't explain why you let that drive continue and for the Bucks to get that touchdown because the Bucks were trying to give it just trying to just run out of time, just give up, and they were done. But the Bills just said no, you're gonna score this touchdown, and that's exactly what they did. Um, they did get the ball back again, tried for a Hail Mary. That failed. So they may have could have won, but they still get the cover, and that led to this bad backdoor cover. And that is the bad of the week. But what do you think about Bucks Bills?
You know, it's always a risky move trying to, at least at the NFL level, taking a double-digit spread. Um, as you said, prime example of just, garbage time TD and a backdoor cover. Uh, and I also think it highlights, kind of how, as we were just mentioning, when, you get a team in a groove, or in this instance, with the Buffalo defense, you basically know you got the victory in the bag. The game's not in any real jeopardy, any real risk. And it's not that you're not trying, it's not that you're taking plays off, but in the NFL, if you're a half a step slow, if you're a step behind, that can be the difference between a first down and a tackle for loss. And so, when you start getting into playing some of these big spreads and happen to handicap the game the way it seems to be turning out, that risk you run is that backdoor cover that could potentially come in simply because the defense is a little bit more lax, knowing that victory really isn't at any chance of being lost.
Yeah. But all right. We'll go on to our personal picks of the week, and my record was a good. Like I said, I had a winning week, 3-2. Back in the winning category there. But still losing overall 17-18. So but we'll get that. We'll keep on winning. We'll get better. But my best pick of the week was, like you mentioned earlier, that Bengals plus 5.5 at the 49ers. We definitely predict this game pretty right. We didn't even know the status of Brock Purdy. We didn't know that he was going to come back and play in the game. We kind of thought he might miss it, but he ultimately did play. But he didn't play all that well in the end of the game. He threw two really bad interceptions that gave up the game to the Bengals. And Joe Burrow seems pretty fully healthy after the calf injury he had at the beginning of the game. Beginning of the season, and now he seems like the old Joe Burrow. Um, he was playing really well, and I think he'll play like he's been playing going forward for the Bengals. I think the Bengals, and that makes the Bengals a really good bet. Um, I think that they were definitely undervalued in this game at 5.5, because I just don't think a Bengals team like this you could give them 5.5 points as a big spread, even though they were on the road. I just think they were a little undervalued here, and I think the 49ers were a little overvalued considering they had lost 2 in a row before this game, and you still were laying 5.5 points. That's still pretty big, so I think they were a little overvalued in this matchup, and that really made this game stand out, and I think that's why we both took this game. It was kind of glaring right there, staring at us, and we jumped all over it. And it definitely paid off for us.
Yeah, I don't think there was any aspect to this game. The Bengals are coming in hot. Yes, the 49ers are a good team. Nobody's denying that. Possibly top one or two teams in the NFC. Definitely top 5 NFL team, but clearly sputtering a little bit. And you know, everybody wanted to run with the storyline that San Fran can't lose 3 in a row. Well, Cincinnati went out there and did just that, folks. And we were both up here last week, fully confident in what Cincinnati could do. And if this game had been played earlier in the season, yes, it could have been a completely different outcome. But Joe Burrow's healthy. That was the only real concern coming into the season, was his health and how long would it take him to get going full speed. And at this point, Cincinnati could, they're a legitimate chance to fight for the division title with the way they were able to turn their season around. So, getting points in this matchup, whether it was around 3 or, closer to that +5, +6 range, even with Purdy being out there, uh, it was just it was kind of obvious that Cincinnati had this game in control. Um, and I don't think there was really a time where you felt uncomfortable if you were holding Cincinnati with any sort of plus number.
And definitely. All right. We'll get to your best pick of the weekend. What? How did you do overall?
Um, well, seeing as how that was my only win on the week, Cincinnati. If you're gonna have one, make it a good one. And I
But
think,
that's what we kind of said. We said we had different picks last week. That was our only one that we had the same. But when we differ, one of us is gonna do good, and one of us probably not gonna be do so good. Just you were on the wrong side this week.
yeah, and I will admit there were a few matchups where I really didn't like the number for last week, and sometimes in this industry, not making a bet is the best bet, and I gladly, will take that Cincinnati upset and victory. Uh, I was riding with the Chiefs. Yes, taking that risk. A division game, a bit of a larger spread. Um, I do. I think what shocked everybody from that game was the way Denver's defense was able to step up, given everything that's going on in Denver. And as I mentioned earlier, clearly something is not clicking in the way it was with this Kansas City offense. I wouldn't go as far as to say something's wrong, um, but clearly this is not the well-oiled machine that we've seen over the past few years. Um, because even last year, where you maybe didn't see as much production, um, the team seemed, at least offensively, seemed to gel a lot more. And I think this year we're not seeing that same cohesion occur, and it's leading to some of these very low scoring games. And the only that's that was how you beat. That was the only hopes in beating the Chiefs in the past. If you could keep them off the scoreboard or keep them out of the end zone, that was the game plan. Unfortunately, nobody really had a way of stopping them or keeping them off the scoreboard. Well, now teams have that opportunity, and we're seeing some teams are able to take advantage of it. Just by we're not talking about outscoring somebody in a shootout. Uh, there's been a number of games where if you could potentially put up 21, 24 points, the way this Kansas City offense has been playing, you have a legitimate shot at winning that game.
No, all right. I'll get to my worst pick, and that came in the Texans -3 versus your Panthers. Um, yeah, definitely. I thought we had this one in the bag, man. I don't know why your Panthers decided to all of a sudden win a game here, but definitely
Uh,
was not expecting that. Yeah, I mean, just considering how bad the Panthers had been playing before that game, I all of a sudden, they play really well on defense. They hold CJ Stroud uh, pretty well. He didn't really do a whole lot through the air. Um, like he has been doing, and that's credit to you guys' defense definitely stepping up this game. And Bryce Young just hey, he did enough to win this game. He led the last drive to kick the winning field goal. So it was definitely a step up for Bryce Young, definitely a step down for Stroud, and how they had been playing through the early part of the season. But just like I said, just did not expect that to happen. Um, but I don't think I've lost faith in the Texans, yes, yet. But definitely surprising from your Panthers.
yes, I do have to say that them getting the outright victory was a bit surprising. Um, Even though this was a very ugly game, there was. I mean, it was clearly defense on both sides of the ball controlled this game. The Panthers. Hold up, I gotta address this with Brandon. Yeah, no, I'm a Panthers fan. Always have been. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah. See, got me all thrown off with that just craziness. Like, huh? Like, I could understand the hats throwing you off because had to give a little shit.
You were wearing that Ravens hat before on the show one time.
Yeah,
Maybe you
it's.
got.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's joking. Catch me in the right cap. You never know. But yeah. Oh yes, I'm a grumpy Panthers fan. Anybody that's been any true Panthers fan has struggled. That's basically what we know. And I've been a Panthers fan since the beginning. So yeah, there's a lot to be grumpy about. Um but yeah, this game was definitely ran by the defense on both sides of the ball. Um you know, not to say it was shocking, but I did expect Houston's offense maybe to be able to do a little more. I can say that while Bryce Young's performances throughout the season haven't led to victories. He is giving you that type of play that you want to see out of your quarterback. Um, for the most part, making the right reads, making the right throws, doing the things that you are not doing the things that you don't want to see. Um, and so while, like I said, that hasn't led to victory so far this year, hopefully we can build on something because next year they're going to have to hit with that second round pick because unfortunately that first round pick was a part of that package they sent to Chicago to obtain the rights to the number 1 overall pick to draft Bryce Young. So it will be interesting to see how things play out over the course of the rest of the season and next season. Um, but yeah, definitely wasn't going to put this one down as the one the Panthers got their first win. Maybe a little bit of a obvious pick for some coming off a bye week, but as you said, Houston has been a team better than people expected, and you know, in that matchup with the Panthers, I feel like we were both going with the better team in that matchup. Unfortunately, we found ourselves on the wrong side.
That's only if the O line doesn't get Bryce killed himself. Sitting behind, playing behind them. So
And
you could go either way there.
and see that not even gonna talk about that nonsense below that.
Yeah. But all right, that will wrap up our week 8 bets. But before we get into our week 9 bets, we like to help you guys out. If you guys can help us out by subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, definitely help us out. If you guys can hit the like button as well on this video. And if you really want to help us out, you can join our Patreon. The link is in the description down below. So please do all those things. We would very much appreciate it. But now we will get into our week 9 bets. And I'm going to start off with a team we just were talking about, and that is Houston Texans. Like I said, I'm not going to give up on them. They had a little bit of stumble there. Losing to the Panthers, not great to lose to a winless team, but I definitely do think they'll get a bounce back. They're laying 2.5 points against the Buccaneers at home, but I don't.
I believe my man
Baker
froze.
Mayfield,
You okay? You
and
froze
how.
up for a second, but you're
Oh,
good
I'm back
now.
now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this pick is more against Baker Mayfield and how he's been playing lately. The Bucks have definitely been on a downslide the last few games. They have not looked good. So that's more of what my bet is going against the Bucks more than for the Texans. And I think the Bucks not very good against the spread, 5-10 against the spread in the last 15 games, 1-4 straight up in the last 5 games, 0-6 straight up versus an AFC team. Texans 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 games, so still pretty good. And I just think that offensively, CJ Stroud and the Texans offense will be able to outduel Baker Mayfield in the Bucks offense, and that's what I'm betting on happening here.
I'm actually on the other side in this game with Tampa. Now, yes, I still feel Houston is a very strong team this year. Though in this matchup, one of the things I'm gonna be leaning on a little bit is Tampa has been 3-0 on the road, and if last week was a bit of a blueprint, if your defense can go out there and not to say shut down the Texans offense, but there's holes and ways to pick apart the Texans offense that you're not going to find in some of the better offenses across the league. And Tampa does have a good defense. And I think, I was a bit 50-50 looking at it, but I do feel there's a strong chance Tampa wins this game outright. That being said, give me the 2.5 points.
All right, well, different sides there. So you have to flip a coin and see where it lands for that one. Um, for my second bet of the week, I got the Miami Dolphins plus 2.5 versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And I say versus because it is in Germany. Germany. It is not a home game for the Chiefs. It is a neutral site game for both these teams. And on a neutral site, the Dolphins are getting 2.5. I'm going to take that all day, especially with how this Chiefs offense has been playing lately. Especially, we were just talking about earlier in the show of how bad that they were against the Broncos, and they just can't seem to get it right. Usually, they have some, problems at the beginning of the season, and usually they can turn it on and fix a problem. It just seems like they can't get it right because the receivers are just not good. They don't have good receivers. They drop the ball like crazy. And Mahomes is like overcompensating for it. He's been throwing a lot of interceptions. He has 8 interceptions this year. And I just think that's going to continue. I think their dysfunction on their offense is going to continue in this game. Especially now you got Jalen Ramsey on the other side, who got a pick last week for the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins defense can frustrate him in this game as well. And that'll play right in the Dolphins' hands. And this is going to be a game where they're just going to have to who's going to be outscore who. And it seems the Dolphins right now have a way better offense than the Chiefs. So I'm going to take the better offense right now, and I'm going to take the 2.5 points as well in a neutral site game. That's where I'm leaning.
I was looking at this game hard because I've been strong on the Miami Dolphins this season, and when you look at this spread, everything about this number says take the Dolphins. My main concern with this matchup is the fact that it's being held overseas, and honestly, there's no way to gauge how this is going to affect some of these teams. We saw earlier in the season that the Jaguars had back-to-back games overseas, and instead of coming back stateside on the in between time, they stayed overseas, potentially capitalizing on the lack of travel, the lack of adjustment, as far as sleep, time zones, all that. Um, so yeah, like I said, everything about the numbers and the stats are going to say take the Dolphins, which raises the question, why isn't this number higher? And I think that's because a lot of the books out there, with these neutral site games overseas being held in England and Germany, um, they just it makes it that much more difficult to handicap because you don't know what you're going to get. Having a spread as skinny as this, you might even find it closer to a pick 'em in some places. I think highlights that. You're not, I would have the Dolphins favored in this game, but honestly, looking at the number, it's it's almost a coin flip. So if this game was being held, whether it was at Miami or in Kansas City, I'd be riding with the Dolphins. The fact that it's overseas is just too much. That
Yeah, like Jay
Yep.
Breeze. Yep.
But yeah, this game being held in Germany is just one that I'm gonna lay off on because I don't know what to expect from both these teams as far as how the travel is gonna affect the gameplay we see Sunday morning. Now, moving into my next pick, I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams as they take on the Green Bay
Okay, my
Packers.
dad's taking Miami as well. So both on the same side as that one.
But yeah, riding with the LA Rams as they take on the Green Bay Packers. We've seen, the Packers season pretty much start to go down the drain. We've seen Aaron Jones be banged up a little bit, but from what we've seen this season so far, it's it's pretty much answering those questions about if Jordan Love was the guy, and the answer is no. Um, that being said, we have a healthy Cooper Cup coming back. I do know there's some, we might be without Stafford for this game. However, I think Sean McVay has proven in the past that he has the ability to scheme around that quarterback position when need be. And I'm not sure that Green Bay's defense is going to be able to do enough to stop him. Uh, and that being said, with the spread as skinny as it is, or no, excuse me, they have the Rams as the underdog in this game. So getting 3 points as they go up to Green Bay. Hopefully, we don't see anything like snow or anything crazy like that. I think it's still early enough in the season. That's not too much of a concern. In some of these northern teams that play in an open stadium, I know Buffalo's another one where that's something you got to keep in mind as we get later in the season. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna be taking the underdog with the Rams +3 as they take on Green Bay.
Yeah, this one I wanted to go with the Rams as well, but the reason why I stayed um, was because I didn't know what the status of Matthew Stafford. That kind of scared me away from it. Um, because if they're getting three, maybe they have some insight that maybe he's not going to play. If that is the case, if Vegas thinks that they're gonna need points to win to cover the spread. Um, and so that made me think maybe he's not going to play. So that's kind of just like, okay, I don't know. I know the Packers are bad. I definitely know that. So, but I don't know how bad what the Rams will look like if Stafford does not play. So it made me stay away from betting that game. But for my next bet of the week, I got the I got the Minnesota Vikings at the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are -5. And I'm gonna lay the points with the Falcons. The Vikings are gonna start a rookie quarterback in Jaron Hall after the Kirk Cousins injury that has him out for the season. They just traded for Dobbs, but Dobbs will not play this week. They will be going with the rookie, and that's gonna be bad news when a rookie, you get a rookie in his first start. You don't really expect him to do a whole lot. So that I think it shows it in the spread with the Falcons -5 there. But I'm willing to lay the points just because I just don't think he'll be able to really do anything against this Falcons defense, who definitely can take advantage of a rookie quarterback, seeing that they are top 10 in all the major categories in scoring, passing, rushing, and all those categories in the rush in their defense, all top 10. So whatever plan the Vikings may have going into this game, it's just not going to work against them. If they want to lead on the run game, that's going to be a bad idea because they are 30th in rushing. So they can't run the ball, and they're not going to be able to pass the ball with this rookie quarterback. Heineke will be starting for the Atlanta Falcons. That may have a little bit of a spark to this Falcons offense. If you remember in previous years when Heineke makes a start for the Commanders, they won those games when he had to go in there the next week, and because it gave him a little bit of a spark. Then he kind of cooled off after that. So this is Heineke's first start, and I think maybe they get a little spark in their offense, and I definitely think they can cover that 5-point spread.
There are definitely some questions going on about what's going on in Minnesota, because how is a team a buyer and seller at the trade deadline? You trade for Josh Dobbs because Cousins goes down. Well, I think a lot of people expected him to trade for or try and trade for some quarterback, whether it was a backup. Clearly Dobbs would be a name thrown out there. But then at the same time, you trade away possibly your best offensive lineman, um, or at least one of your better offensive linemen, uh, which just seems counterproductive to, why bring in a quarterback? Why expend that capital to try and bring in somebody to potentially help keep your season afloat just to turn around and trade away another piece? So there's definitely a lot of questions going on in Minnesota. Cousins being out for the season it's going to affect a lot of these lines. Atlanta being the favorite isn't a shock. Yes, Heineke's rolling out there for this week. Um, with the weapons that he has available and that defense, as long as he doesn't go out there and make any monumental mistakes, they should be, for the most part. I would not be surprised if this Atlanta team goes out there and tries to run the ball on, that's basically been their scheme: run the ball down these teams' throats and then work the play action game. With Heineke out there, we might see Drake London and Kyle Pitts become more of weapons. Clearly, this season, Bijan Robinson has been a major piece in his rookie season. So,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It makes zero sense.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I think maybe they're thinking maybe they had a surplus at least that position. I don't know. I think they had somebody else starting for them. Maybe that's they're thinking, but otherwise, yeah, not sure. Um, what's going on with their O line as far as that, but I still think they yeah, at least for this week, it's not going to go well just because of going with a rookie quarterback going for the first start. Just not going to work out for them. But yeah, you were going to get to your next pick.
yeah. And just real quick, we saw something similar with the Vikings early, or with how they behaved earlier in the season.
Mhm.
They moved on from Dalvin Cook, and then a few weeks later, we see them go out and try and acquire Cam Akers, who hasn't worked. So yeah, I think it's just it's definitely a lot of back and forth going on in Minnesota right now with the Vikings. Now moving on to my next pick. I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts minus the 2.5 as they take on the Panthers. Yes, the Panthers were able to get their first victory last week. However, nothing about that offense looked good. I mean, well, I'll take that back. Bryce Young did look good. Like I said earlier, his decision making and uh, where he's putting the football on some of these passes, you can't be too upset there. It's things like what you've seen out of the offensive line that have led to either sacks or him being rushed. Broken plays where either you're having to put the ball in a tight window or throw the ball away completely. Um, but yeah, coming into this game, I think that at least schematically, Gardner Minshew works better for the Colts. At least at the moment, we have a healthy Jonathan Taylor. We've seen the run game be an issue for the Panthers on and off over not just this season, but over the course of the past few years. And with a skinny line like this, give me the 2.5 and a little Minshew magic. I was able to actually get this at a plus number when I got it at even money. So even better getting that plus 2.5.
Yeah, this is I don't know how to bet this game. I guess I can see it going either way. Maybe the Panthers have the momentum going for them, and they get another win, or like you said, maybe that Minshew magic shows up again. It's just hard to say. I mean, these are not very good teams, um, so it's really hard to say what they're going to get out of them. Um, Especially how up and down the Colts have been. So I can't really, I don't really, I'm not sure what's going to happen in this outcome. But That's why I just kind of yeah, it's not one I even considered even betting because I had no idea about that one. But you know your team better than I do, so uh, that should say something.
And something that maybe will ease some betters' minds out there. The Panthers have been one of the worst teams against the spread this season. I believe 1-5-1, or maybe that's one. No, they've had their bye, so it should be 7 games. But either way, I believe that the only cover on the spread was last week with that Houston game, with the outright win. And even still, you saw everything it took to get them to that victory. So only needing to win by a touch or by a field goal, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something closer to a 10-digit victory, whether we come just in that number or. But I would not be surprised to see this game get out of hand early.
Guess that's a question for you.
Yeah, and I mean, while Nico Collins has had a bit of a standout season this year, he's not a Tyreek Hill. He's not that top guy where it's less about we're gonna try and keep him from doing something and more just hope they don't kill us. Um, you know, the secondary in Carolina, in the coverage sense, has been something that's been up for question for a little while now. Um, we've seen up and down play out of players like Dante Jackson. If I'm not mistaken, C.J. Henderson's hurt at the moment. We lost J.C. Horn earlier in the season to a season injury, season-ending injury. So there's definitely holes in this secondary for Minshew or any quarterback out there to try and take advantage of.
All right, moving on to my next bet. I will be taking the Bengals -2 at home versus the Buffalo Bills, continuing on the Bengals train. Like I said, like I said before, they've been playing well. Since he's been healthy, since Burrow's been healthy, they look like a much different team than they were at the start of the season. Um, and like I said, I just expected to continue. Um, and the Bills have had some bad losses. They lost to the Jets, they lost to the Pats. Um, they look kind of suspect in the end of the game against the Bucks last week. Kind of let them hang around too long. Um, so I definitely like the Bengals offense. I like what they've been doing. I think as they're playing at home, it's only a 2 point spread. That's definitely something the Bengals cover in this game. Bills terrible against the spread, 1-4 in the last 5 games, just 3-5 for the overall in the season. So I think everything points towards the Bengals covering that 2 point spread in this game.
Yes, I'm riding with this exact same play. The Bengals are hot. It's that simple, in my opinion. And Buffalo, I think we got to put Buffalo in the same boat as Kansas City as far as this season, where they are not the team that we've seen in the past couple of years. As you've just said, we've seen a lot of ugly play out of Buffalo this season, and I think we do see them go out and struggle against Cincinnati. Cincinnati does have oh, maybe underwhelming is the proper term. But they haven't struggled on the defensive side of the ball. And they went out last week and showed they were able to limit top-notch talent. And I think we see more of that this weekend as the Bills. In my opinion, I would expect them to struggle to put up points. And with this low spread, you give me a healthy Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase any day of the week and -2.5. I mean, if it was the Dolphins, I might be worried as far as who's putting up more points. But with this Bills matchup, I got to go with the Bengals. I was high on them last week. Had the upset, and they're the favorite in this game. They definitely, if we were able to see this line at the beginning of the season, I promise you they weren't a favorite then. So, I'm glad, or I got no problems backing the Bengals giving up the 2.5 points.
Yeah, so we're both on the Bengals, like we were last week. It worked out last week, so we're both on them. So it should work out this week. But I want to get to Jay's comment here. He said that the Panthers tried to trade for Jonathan and the Commanders to pair with DB on the line since they were having a fire sale yesterday. I think the Commanders wouldn't have done that, considering they paid both Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. And they didn't want to pay the edge rushers. I think that's why they got rid of them in the first place. So I don't think they were ever going to trade either one of those pieces. Also, it's kind of harder to find those elite interior guys more than it's find pass rushers. I think you can find pass rushers and drafts, free agency. There's kind of a lot more of them than there are really good interior defensive linemen, and they got two of them. So I don't think they were going to really part with those two guys.
Yeah, I would have preferred to see the Panthers go after a wide receiver because, unfortunately, once you get past Adam Thielen, that wide receiver core is pretty much trash. Jonathan Mingo is a rookie and has showed some flashes, but nothing that makes you look at somebody that could easily be a number 2 in the wide receiver core. I had my fingers crossed that they would go after Higgins. Even almost got fooled by some fake Twitter news. But I, made the mistake of remembering that Fitterer doesn't know how to make good deals for his team. He'll make great deals for the team he's sending something to, but as far as it comes to the Panthers and him making trades, find me something, if anything that's worked out. I mean, anything. And I mean, they traded for Sam Darnold. They technically traded to bring in Baker Mayfield. There haven't, they trade. Well, I think technically Jonathan Mingo was a second round pick, but they had to trade up to get him because of the foolishness and how they handled the draft picks that they sent away in the Darnold deal. So there's been they haven't been heavily active in the trade markets, but at no point, they traded Christian McCaffrey away to recoup the draft capital that they basically squandered away. If they had handled those trades better, we might have been in a situation after the McCaffrey trade where we had potential draft capital to do something. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And so, yeah, when it comes to being a Panthers fan and hoping Scott Fitterer makes a trade, I'm hoping not only that he's, not making phone calls, but don't even pick up the phone calls because it's more likely they're going to get more from us than we get back in return. So, now moving into my next pick.
Is your fifth one or your?
Well, now me, yeah, because we were both on Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So I think it was my turn.
Okay, pick. Go ahead.
Yeah. This game of the week, and I think we all know what that means. It is time for me to bet my Dallas Cowboys once again. It didn't work out last time, but it's gonna work out this time. And why is it going to work out this time? Because we're getting 3 points on the road at Philly. And you know what? Dak just dominates Philly. He's 8-3 versus the Eagles. He just division, to be honest. Like he beats that one thing Dak does. You can say all you want about him in the playoffs, but what he does do is beat the NFC East. Great record against them. He's the Cowboys are 7-3 in the last 10 games against the Eagles. And they are 5-2 against the spread on last 7 games, and then 4-1 against the spread versus the Philadelphia Eagles in the last 5 games against them. So all the numbers point towards the Cowboys going in there and again whipping their ass because that's just what we do. And despite making that big trade for Kevin Byard in their secondary to boost their secondary. They still played like complete garbage against the Washington Commanders and Sam Howell because he threw 4 touchdowns against them, put up 31 points on them. So they're still not good. And that's exactly and considering how well Dak has been playing for the last 2 weeks, he threw 4 touchdowns last week. He's just going to continue rolling on into this week, and he's gonna light them up. He's gonna light up that weak ass secondary that the Eagles got. He's going to score all over him. And Jim Hurt's been turning over the ball like crazy. He's at 8 interceptions. And guess what the Dallas Cowboys do the best on defense is get turnovers. DaRon Bland with 3 pick sixes this season has the most interceptions since he started last season. We're just a turnover machine, and that's exactly what the Jalen Hurts is as well. So he's definitely going to give us a couple. And we'll definitely take advantage of that. We'll win the turnover matchup, and that'll win us the game pretty much the way Dak's been playing and the way the defense has been turning over the ball. Just the fact that look at the history of the Eagles Cowboys. We've been dominating them. We're going to dominate them this game. I don't really worry about playing the Eagles like I do worry about playing the Niners. I think we match up very well against them, and we're going to beat them once again on Sunday. We don't even need 3 points because we're getting an outright win.
Now, I am on the other side of you on this game. Yes, now in past seasons, I do believe that the Cowboys were a better fit for the matchup going up against the Eagles. With the injuries y'all are facing this year, it's definitely hard to lean the Cowboys' way. Plus, A.J. Brown coming in just on the hot streak that he's been on. I would look for, Jalen Hurts in this passing game, if not directly through A.J. Brown, to keep up with the pace and how things have been going. And it is worth saying, Dak has been, susceptible to the turnover bug just as much as some this season,
Not
already
this
racking
season.
up.
Not this season.
He's already thrown
Jalen Hurts has
5
been on having that bug all this season. Not that. That's definitely not Dak this season.
He threw 3 picks in one game and has 5
In one
on the
game
season.
versus the Niners. And
No,
all the other games have been good.
I'm not saying that Dak is being turnover heavy. I'm saying he's susceptible to turning the ball over.
I don't think he's never been that guy. It was just one season, one bad season, and one bad game against the 49ers. Otherwise, he takes care of the ball. That's how Dak's always been. I don't think he's really susceptible. I think that's a narrative that's been pushed by the media, and that's just because they hate the Cowboys and they love the rag on Dak.
Either way, I do feel that, 49ers, while they haven't, excuse me, not the 49ers, the Eagles in this game, yes, that offense hasn't been clicking on the best that we would like to see out of them this season, but also, will that, yes, they gave up a lot of points to the Commanders in that game. But at the same time, their offense was able to go out there and put up 38 points. Yes, the offense has struggled some this season, but with the smaller spread like this, I'm definitely more comfortable taking the Eagles -3 versus, say, if this number was up closer around, say, 5, 5.5, or a 6. But I do think that the Eagles are favored in this game, and they should be. So we find it's another week where we find ourselves involved with a lot of the same games. So it's going to be interesting to see how things turn out this week. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, like when we always have different games there, we definitely sometimes it works out for both of us, but a lot of the time it seems like one's on a winning week, one's on a losing week, and it's just when we both match up too well, so and then we both kind of crap out. But hopefully it's a good week. It might not be a good week since we're on the other side of some. So somebody's going to be happy, someone's not going to be happy. Oh yeah, my dad said what's the right. I did. I'll restate it again because it is such a great record against against the Eagles. That is 8-3. Dak is against the Eagles because he just beats them up. He just
Hey,
beats that
quick
ass.
question: what was Denver's record against Kansas City?
Um, yeah, but I mean they were it was eventually going to happen. You know they
Yeah,
can't go
yeah,
on 6-0.
exactly. It was
Yeah, but
eventually
it was
gonna.
8-3, so we've had a couple of sprints in. It's just the majority of the time, Dak's gonna whoop that ass because Dak owns the Eagle. He owns the whole NFC East because that he just owns everybody in this
Owning a
division.
bad division isn't really something to be proud of like that.
I mean, well, but why not? I mean, Brady owned the AFC East for a long ass time.
And
They were a bad division. They always bring up that.
no. Patriot fans always bring up that. Nobody else cared because it was the Buffalo Bills that everybody, at least, that wasn't around for them losing 4 Super Bowls. Growing up watching them, you had the Miami Dolphins, who at what their best years would have been with Chad Pennington. I'm not sure about the year off the top of my head. Um, and then the Jets. I mean, come on, the Jets have been sorry since was it Namath retired? So yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about possibly the historically worst or division, might be the AFC East.
Well, exactly. So I don't know how bad this division is when the three teams were in the playoffs last year, and one team made the Super Bowl. So and three of the teams were the Final Four, even or like Final Four. Yeah, they were all made to the divisional round, like Final Six or whatever. Um, yeah, so I don't really see how this is such a terrible division, especially when you always have different winners every season. I think it's a pretty good division, to be honest. So, and Dak definitely owns it, at least according to the records. But we will leave it off on that note, because that is all of our bets. We will recap it once more for you guys. Um, I got Miami Dolphins plus 2.5 versus the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany. I have the Dallas Cowboys plus 3 at Philadelphia. I have the Bengals at home -2, Atlanta Falcons -5 at home versus the Vikings, and the Houston Texans at home -2.5 versus the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Rams as they go up to Green Bay, getting +3. Colts -2.5 as they come into Carolina, taking on the Panthers. Going on the opposite side of that Houston game with the Bucks, +2.5 as they go on the road into Houston. We're riding with that Cincinnati game this week, on the same side, giving up 2.5 where I was able to get it, but I still feel that the Bengals win this game outright and cover. And yes, on the other side of your game, taking Philly -3.
All right. That's our show. And you can tell everybody where they can find you, DWeezy.
Yeah, y'all can reach me at Backyard Action Media here on YouTube as well as the Yard Bets on Twitter/X.
You can find me at NFLKF22 um, on Instagram and Twitter/X. You can find me on this channel um, doing good on Fridays at 3 o'clock, doing good friends, better rivals, talking Cowboys, talking Giants with my co-host first, Donna, whose birthday is today. So happy birthday to him. So we'll be doing that on this Friday. We're talking um, about the Cowboys win, the Giants lost, and the previewing the Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants, and whoever the hell they're playing doesn't really matter. Um, so we're doing that, and you can also find me at the bank cashing my money, putting my money in the bank because I will win this bet, especially that Cowboys game. So that's where you can find me. But like I said, hopefully you guys win all your bets. Good luck to you all going into this week. And we will be back next week doing the same thing, just trying to win you guys money, trying to win us ourselves money, because that's what we do on the show. That's the goal of the show. So, like I always say, let's get ready to make that money.